The space station floated in the darkness like a metal flower. It orbited a dead moon where nothing lived and nothing grew. This was the place where the Galactic Coalition trained its best soldiers. Every year, candidates from 12 different alien species came here to take the final test. This test was so hard that only 3 out of every 100 candidates passed on their first try. Commander stood behind a glass window and watched the candidates enter the examination room. He was an old soldier with gray hair and tired eyes. He had seen many tests. He had seen many failures. The alien species never understood why humans performed so well in these examinations. They thought humans were weak. They thought humans were slow. They were wrong. The examination room was large and cold. 47 seats were arranged in neat rows. The candidates filed in one by one, each taking their assigned seat. Watched them carefully. First came the krill. They were massive creatures standing 3 meters tall with black shells that looked like armor. Their arms ended in claws that could cut through steel. They walked with the confidence of predators who had never known fear. On their home world, they were the top of the food chain. Nothing hunted them. Nothing challenged them. They believed strength was everything. Next came they were thin and graceful with skin that changed colors based on their emotions. Blue meant calm. Red meant anger. Yellow meant fear. They could read minds. Not perfectly, but enough to sense surface thoughts and feelings. They believed they could see through any lie. They came after. They were insect-like beings who shared a group mind. When one learned something, all nearby learned it too. They clicked and buzzed to communicate, speaking in sounds that other species could not hear. They believed unity was the greatest power. And then there were the humans. 23 of them walked in and took their seats among the aliens. They were small compared to the krill. They had no telepathy like They had no group mind like They had soft skin and weak bodies. The other species looked at them with pity or contempt. In row 3, seat 7, a young woman sat down quietly. Her name was Park. She was 24 years old and small even for a human. Her dark hair was tied back in a simple style. Her face showed no expression. She did not talk to anyone. She did not look around nervously. She simply sat and waited. The krill warrior next to her glanced down at this tiny creature. His name was, and he had killed enemies twice his size in battle. He dismissed her immediately. She was prey. She was nothing. Did not react to his look. She folded her hands in her lap and kept her eyes forward, but she was not doing nothing. She was counting. 47 candidates. 5 examination proctors standing along the walls. 4 doors. 12 security cameras. She noted everything. A young human officer named sat 2 rows behind her. He noticed sitting alone and felt sorry for her. She looked lonely. He thought about introducing himself but decided to wait until after the test. The lights in the room dimmed. A holographic screen appeared in the air above them, glowing blue and white. Everyone stopped talking. The test was about to begin. Words formed on the screen in the common galactic language that all species could read. Final examination. Identify the threat. The candidates murmured among themselves. What did this mean? More words appeared. One candidate in this room has been designated as a hostile infiltrator. You have 6 hours to identify this person. If you accuse someone and you are wrong, you fail immediately and must leave. The infiltrator wins if they are not identified before time runs out. The room exploded into noise. The krill jumped to their feet, their claws clicking with aggression. They immediately looked at the mind readers. Of course, the infiltrator would be a mind reader. They could deceive anyone. They turned orange with offense. They pointed at the hive mind could hide secrets between its members. Surely the infiltrator was among them. They buzzed angrily and accused the humans. Humans were known for deception. Humans lied constantly. It had to be a human. Within 5 minutes, the room had divided along species lines. Aliens stood with their own kind and shouted accusations at others. Old prejudices rose to the surface. Old hatreds came alive. The krill grabbed her by the arm. "Your kind cannot be trusted. You hide behind your telepathy. Show us your true thoughts." The skin flashed red. "Release me, brute. We can see your simple mind. You think only of violence." A delegation clicked in unison, their sound creating a wave of noise. "The warm bloods are all suspects. They think as individuals. They cannot be." Tried to calm the humans around him. "We need to stay rational. Fighting each other is exactly what the infiltrator wants." But no one listened. Fear had taken over. In a room full of advanced beings from across the galaxy, primitive instincts had won. Did not move from her seat. She did not join the shouting. She did not defend herself or accuse others. She simply watched. She watched push himself to the front, making himself the leader through intimidation. She watched the form a circle and link their minds together. She watched the vibrate with shared anxiety. And she watched the woman sitting next to her, a human named, stand up and move toward the arguing crowd. Had an average face that was easy to forget. She blended into the chaos perfectly. Noted this, she noted everything. The clock on the wall began counting down. 6 hours, 360 minutes, the test had begun. 3 hours had passed since the test began. The examination room had changed. What was once a place of order was now a place of fear and suspicion. The krill had made himself the leader. No one had voted for him. No one had agreed. He simply spoke the loudest and pushed the hardest until others fell in line. His massive body moved through the room like a predator among prey. When he spoke, his voice echoed off the metal walls. "The infiltrator is hiding among the weak," announced. "We must question everyone who has not spoken. Silence is guilt." He had already accused 4 candidates, a nervous who stuttered when speaking, a who separated from its group to think alone, 2 humans who could not explain their backgrounds clearly. All 4 accusations were wrong. All 4 candidates had failed and been removed from the room. But showed no shame. He simply moved on to his next target. They had formed their own group. 7 of them sat in a circle with their eyes closed, their skin shifting through soft colors as they shared thoughts. They believed their telepathy made them superior investigators. They could sense lies. They could feel fear. Surely they would find the infiltrator. A named Pale spoke for the group. Her skin was the color of morning clouds. "We have scanned the minds of all non-telepaths. Many are afraid, many are confused, but we cannot find clear guilt." "Then scan deeper," demanded. "We cannot read deep thoughts, only surface feelings. The infiltrator must be someone whose mind we cannot reach clearly." Pale turned toward the human section. "Humans have chaotic minds. They think in circles and layers. We suspect the threat is among them." The humans shifted uncomfortably. There were 19 of them left now, down from 23. They huddled together near the back of the room, trying to avoid attention. Had become their unofficial leader. He was young but calm. He had trained in investigation techniques at the Human Military Academy. He believed in logic and evidence. "We need to think about this differently," said to his group. "Forget species, forget prejudice. What would a real infiltrator do?" A human woman named answered. "Hide, act normal, avoid suspicion." "Exactly. So we should look for someone who is too normal, someone who blends in too well." The humans began looking around, searching for candidates who seemed too calm, too average, too forgettable. But this approach led nowhere. Everyone was nervous. No one was truly calm. Across the room still sat in her seat in row 3. She had not moved for 3 hours. She had not spoken. She had not joined any group. To most observers, she appeared frozen with fear. Noticed her and laughed. "Look at the tiny human. She shakes like prey before the hunt." He dismissed her and moved on. But was not shaking. She was not afraid, she was thinking. For 3 hours, she had watched every movement in the room. She had listened to every accusation. She had noticed patterns that others missed. She noticed that every time someone made a useful observation, something distracted them. When a mention that the room cameras had blind spots, immediately accused and created chaos. When started analyzing candidate backgrounds, an argument broke out near her. Noticed that accusations came in waves. Calm periods followed by sudden violence. The rhythm was too regular to be natural. She noticed the proctors along the wall. When the test began, there were 5 of them. Now there were 4. One had left during the second hour when everyone was focused on dragging a failed candidate out of the room. No one else had counted. She noticed the empty seat next to her. Had been sitting there at the start. Average face, average height, forgettable in every way, had stood up during the first big argument and walked toward the crowd, had watched her move. Then the lights flickered for just a moment. When they stabilized, was gone. No one else noticed. The room had been too chaotic, but had seen. Finally approached, he crouched down next to her seat and spoke softly. "Are you okay? You have not moved in hours." Looked at him with dark, steady eyes. "Have you counted the proctors?" Frowned. "The proctors? No, why?" "There were 5 when we started. Count them now." Turned his head slowly, trying not to be obvious. He counted, 1 by the north door, 1 by the south door, 1 near the screen, 1 in the corner, 4 total. His face went pale. "Where is the 5th?" "Gone, left during the second hour." Why would a proctor leave during the test? Did not answer. Instead, she asked another question. "How many candidates are in this room right now?" Began counting heads. It took him 2 minutes to finish. His hands were shaking when he turned back to her. 42. We started with 47. 4 failed. That should leave 43. He swallowed hard. "Someone else is missing." Nodded slowly. "The woman who sat next to me. She left during the first argument and never came back." "Why did you not say anything?" Looked at the clock on the wall. 3 hours and 12 minutes remained. "Because I am still not sure, and wrong accusations end the test." She turned back to watch the room, was preparing to accuse another candidate. They were arguing among themselves. They were clicking with increasing anxiety. Somewhere in this space station, a woman with a forgettable face was doing something. Did not know what, but she knew one thing for certain. The real test was not about finding the infiltrator in this room. It was about something bigger, and time was running out. 4 hours into the test, the examination room smelled like fear. Sweat from warm-blooded species mixed with the chemical stress signals of the air recyclers worked hard but could not clean away the tension. 17 candidates had been accused, all wrong, all failures. The room that started with 47 now held only 30 remaining candidates. Some had failed through bad accusations. Others had been wrongly accused and removed. The test was destroying them. Finally stood up. The movement was so sudden and unexpected that half the room flinched. Spun around, his claws raised for combat. The flashed bright yellow with alarm. Even the humans gasped. For 4 hours, this small woman had sat motionless. Many had forgotten she existed. Now she walked toward the center of the room with slow, measured steps. "The infiltrator is not hiding," said. Her voice was quiet but clear. It cut through the noise like a knife. Clicked his claws with contempt. "The silent one finally speaks, and what wisdom does the prey have for us?" Ignored the insult. "The infiltrator is not hiding," she repeated. "They are hunting." This caught everyone's attention. The room went silent. "Every accusation has followed a pattern," continued. "Watch and understand." She walked to the holographic display and touched its controls. A timeline appeared, showing every accusation that had been made. Names and times floated in the air like ghosts. First accusation, minute 12, accused the named Whisper, wrong, pointed at the timeline. But look at what happened at minute 10. Whisper was talking about the room layout. She noticed something about the proctors, then accused her, and everyone forgot what she was saying. Shifted uncomfortably. I accused her because she was suspicious. Second accusation. Minute 31. Accused the named Click. Wrong again. Moved her finger along the timeline. At minute 29, Click was analyzing movement patterns in the room. He was making progress. Then you stopped him. Third accusation. Minute 58. The human named. She was studying candidate backgrounds, accused and removed. The pattern became clear. Every time someone got close to something real, an accusation destroyed their work. A named Pale stepped forward, her skin shifting to deep purple with understanding. You are suggesting that the infiltrator is leading the investigation, using it to eliminate threats. Nodded, not suggesting, observing. She turned to face directly. The massive krill towered over her like a mountain over a mouse, but showed no fear. You have made the most accusations. Every time someone useful was speaking, you silenced them. You have removed 6 candidates personally. All wrong. The room held its breath. The other krill moved closer, their bodies tense with protective instinct. His voice dropped to a dangerous rumble. You dare accuse me, tiny creature? No, said simply. I am not accusing you, I am observing you. Then what are you saying? Walked away from him, circling the room. Every eye followed her. Is loud, aggressive, obvious. He makes himself the center of attention. He draws every eye in the room. She paused. That is exactly what a good distraction looks like. The krill warrior lunged forward with a roar. His claws swung toward with killing force. Moved faster than thought. He threw himself between them, catching the blow on his shoulder. 2 other humans grabbed his arms. They could not match his strength, but they used technique. They used leverage. They used the training that humans had developed over thousands of years of fighting stronger opponents. Struggled but could not break free without killing them. Even in his rage, he knew that murder would end his career. I am not accusing you, repeated calmly. She had not moved, she had not flinched. You are not the infiltrator, you are a tool. The room was completely silent now. Even the had stopped their clicking. Someone wanted us to eventually suspect you, explained. Someone who benefits when attention focuses on the loudest voice. Someone who can move freely while everyone watches the obvious threat. She turned to the delegation. Your telepathy has limits. You can read surface thoughts but not deep planning. You can sense emotions but not hidden intentions. She looked at a young named Soft whose skin was currently pale white. You have been very helpful in this investigation. Every time a was suspected, you their innocence. Every time someone suspected a non, you could not read them clearly. Soft's colors shifted rapidly through 17 different shades. This was a stress response that could not control or fake. It happened only under extreme pressure. You have been the perfect, continued, confirming whatever was convenient, but you are not the infiltrator either. She looked at the clock. 47 minutes remained. The infiltrator understood something about all of us, something simple but powerful. Walked back toward row 3, toward her original seat. They knew we would tear ourselves apart through prejudice. Krill would suspect telepaths, would suspect hive minds, would suspect individuals. Humans would suspect everyone. She stopped at the empty seat next to hers. While we fought among ourselves, they did not need to hide. They could simply leave. Spoke up, his shoulder bleeding from strike. What do you mean, leave? Count the candidates in this room, said. Count them right now. Everyone counted. The number was 30. 4 failed through wrong accusations. 13 were wrongly accused and removed. That accounts for 17 gone. Touched the empty seat. But we started with 47. Simple math. Someone else left without anyone noticing. Pale checked her mental records. Who is missing? A human woman named. She sat next to me for the first hour. Average height, average face, nothing memorable about her at all. Looked at the door. She walked out during the first major argument. When every eye was on, she never came back. The room erupted in new chaos, but this time it was different. This time they were not fighting each other. They were finally understanding. The test was not just about finding the infiltrator. It was about stopping them. And somewhere in the space station had a 3-hour head start. The examination room transformed in minutes. Species that had been fighting now worked together. Krill's strength combined with perception and coordination. The candidates had finally stopped being enemies. Stood at the center, directing them like a conductor leading an orchestra. "We need to find where she went," said. "The station has security systems. We need access." A named Tick stepped forward. His species had a natural ability to interface with electronic systems. "I can access the station network through the examination terminal, but I need time." "Do it. Pale, can your group scan for human thoughts in other parts of the station?" The leader nodded, her skin now a determined shade of blue. "Our range is limited, maybe 200 meters, but we will try." Had calmed down. The shame of being used as a distraction had cooled his anger. Now he wanted revenge on whoever had manipulated him. "My warriors can search physically. We are fast. We are strong." "Not yet," said. "We do not know what she is doing. If we charge blindly, we might trigger something worse." Stood beside her, his wounded shoulder wrapped in cloth torn from his uniform. "What do you think she is doing? Why leave the room?" Had been thinking about this for hours. This test is designed to be difficult but fair. The coalition wants candidates who can identify threats, but what if the infiltrator was never meant to stay hidden until time runs out? "A secondary objective," said, understanding. "She has a mission." "Yes. Something that requires her to be outside this room. Something that uses the chaos we create as cover." Tick made a clicking sound of success. "I have accessed the station systems, security cameras, door logs, everything." The holographic display changed. Instead of accusation records, it now showed a map of the station. Small dots represented movement captured by cameras. There, Tick pointed at a dot moving through a corridor on the lower level. "Human female, moving toward the central core 30 minutes ago." "The central core," Pale said. "That is where the station's main computer is located. All examination records, all communication systems." Felt cold understanding wash over her. She is not just trying to win her part of the test. She is trying to fail everyone. The room went silent. "Think about it," continued. "If she uploads something to the main computer, she could delete our examination records, or change them, or send false signals that shut down the test. One infiltrator could fail 47 candidates at once." Growled, "Then we must stop her now." Agreed, but carefully. Looked at the map. "Tick, can you slow her down, lock doors, disable elevators, anything?" "I can try. The system is complex. She may have override codes." "Do what you can. Take your fastest warriors, go through the east corridor. That is the shortest path to the core." She turned to the Pale. "Go with them. Scan ahead for her thoughts. Warn them if she sets an ambush." The Krill and moved immediately. Different species, working as one unit. Something that rarely happened in the galaxy. "What about us?" asked. Looked at the remaining humans. There were 15 of them left. "We take the long way, through maintenance tunnels. She might expect an attack from the main corridors. She will not expect us to come from below." They moved out of the examination room for the first time in 4 hours. The station corridors were cold and sterile, lit by white lights that hummed softly. Led the human group toward a maintenance hatch near the back of the facility. As they walked, spoke quietly. "How did you know about all of it?" "Did not slow down. I watched." "We all watched. We saw nothing." "You watched for threats the way you were trained, looking for suspicious behavior, looking for lies, looking for fear." She opened the maintenance hatch and began climbing down. "I watched for absence, for things that should be there but were not. The maintenance tunnels were narrow and dark. The humans moved in single file, their footsteps echoing softly on metal grating. Was too average, continued, too forgettable. In a room full of aliens and soldiers, she had no distinguishing features at all. That takes skill, that takes training. Coalition Special Operations guessed. She was planted. Yes, and she was good. Her cover was nearly perfect. Nearly. Smiled slightly in the darkness. When she left her seat, the weight distribution changed. I felt it through the floor. When the first accusation happened, she showed a tiny expression of satisfaction, just for a moment. When she walked toward the crowd, her path was too direct. She knew exactly where she was going. Shook his head in amazement. You noticed all of that while sitting still for 3 hours. Humans notice things, said simply. It is what we do. They reached a junction in the tunnels, consulted her mental map of the station. The central core was close now. She could hear the hum of powerful computers through the walls. Her communicator crackled. His voice came through, distorted by static. We have reached the core entrance. The door is locked. Tick is working on it. Wait for us, replied. We are almost there. She led the humans through a final series of tunnels. They emerged into a small room filled with cables and conduits. A thin wall separated them from the central core. Through a small window, could see standing at the main computer terminal. Her average face was now sharp with concentration. Her fingers moved rapidly across the controls. On the screen, code scrolled past too fast to read. She was uploading something, a virus, a program, something that would end the examination for everyone. Looked at the thin wall. It was not meant to be a barrier, just a maintenance panel, strong enough to hold but not designed to stop determined people. She looked at her fellow humans, 15 of them crowded in a tiny space, all watching her. On my signal, whispered, we go through. The wall was between them and victory, between them and everything was trying to destroy. Took a deep breath. Now. The wall exploded inward as 15 humans threw their combined weight against it. Metal panels flew across the room. Cables snapped and sparked. Spun around, her hand reaching for a weapon at her belt. She was fast. Coalition Special Operations fast. Her training kicked in automatically. But was faster. Not in strength, not in combat skill, had never been the strongest or the quickest, but she had been watching for hours. She knew how the woman moved. She knew which way she would turn. She knew where her hand would go. Was already moving before finished drawing her weapon. She grabbed the woman's wrist and twisted, using momentum instead of muscle. The weapon clattered to the floor. And the others swarmed in. They were not trained fighters. Most were engineers, scientists, or junior officers, but there were 15 of them and only one of her. They held down through sheer numbers. At that moment the main door burst open, charged through with 6 krill warriors behind him. Pale and her followed, their skin flashing with the colors of victory. The human prey is caught, said, looking down at with something like respect. She is good, better than most of our special forces. Stopped struggling. She looked up at with curious eyes. How did you know? My cover was perfect. I passed 17 psychological tests to prepare for this mission. Knelt down to meet her gaze. Your cover was perfect for fooling aliens. It was not designed to fool humans. What do you mean? You were too normal, too average. No human is that unremarkable. We all have something that makes us stand out. A nervous habit, a strange laugh, something. You had nothing. Closed her eyes. Such a small mistake. Small mistakes are the only kind that matter in the end. The holographic display above the computer flickered. The virus upload had been stopped at 93%. A few more minutes and would have succeeded. Alarms began to sound throughout the station. Not danger alarms, completion alarms. The examination was over. Commander's voice came through the speakers. "Attention all candidates. The threat has been neutralized. The examination is complete. All remaining candidates have passed. Please return to the main examination room for debriefing." The walk back was different from the desperate rush through the tunnels. Krill walked beside humans, talked with. Species that had been ready to kill each other now moved as allies. Fell into step beside. His massive form made her look like a child. "I owe you an apology, small human. I dismissed you as prey. I was wrong." Shrugged, "You saw what you were trained to see. Strength, size, aggression. Those are the threats on your world." "And what do humans see?" "Everything. We cannot help it. It is how we survived." The examination room was bright now. The fear had been replaced by relief and exhaustion. Candidates found seats and waited for the commanders to arrive. Commander entered through a side door. Behind him came examiners from each species. They looked at the mixed groups of candidates with something like wonder. Spoke first. "In 12 years of conducting this examination, this is the first time candidates from all species work together to neutralize the threat. Usually, you tear each other apart until time runs out." He looked directly at Candidate Park. "You identified the infiltrator, organized a multi-species response, and stopped the virus upload with 7 minutes to spare. Your score is the highest in Coalition history." Did not react to the praise. She simply nodded. The Krill examiner stepped forward. His voice was deep and skeptical. "Explain something to me. How did this human notice what 46 specialists with superior senses could not? We have telepaths. We have warriors with perfect combat awareness. We have hive minds that share all information. How did she see what we missed?" Smiled. It was the smile of someone who had waited years to explain this. "Your species evolved with advantages," he said. "The Krill became the perfect predators, the developed telepathy, the created collective intelligence. You developed your gifts until they became your only way of seeing the world." He paused. "Humans had nothing, no claws, no telepathy, no hive mind. We were soft, weak creatures on a dangerous planet. We were prey for bigger animals and predators for smaller ones, so we developed everything a little bit." The room was completely silent. "Humans are the only species in the coalition that evolved as both hunter and hunted. We learned to watch for the predator hiding in the tall grass and the poison berry on the bush. We threat assess everything, constantly, unconsciously, without even trying." He looked at with something like pride. "Park is not special by human standards. She is typical. Any human raised in a complex social environment learns to read rooms, count exits, notice missing people, and remember details that do not fit. We do it automatically. We cannot turn it off." The examiner's skin shifted to deep violet. Typical. A typical human saw what 46 trained specialists missed. "Yes, because you were all looking for threats the way your species understands threats. The Krill looked for predators. The looked for mental shields. The looked for disconnection." Shook his head. "Humans look for everything wrong at once. It is exhausting. It makes us paranoid. But it also makes us very, very hard to fool." The Krill examiner made a grinding sound. "And if humans tried to infiltrate us, to deceive us?" Smile did not reach his eyes. "You would never know until it was too late." The room fell silent again. For the first time, the alien species looked at the humans with new understanding, not as weak prey, not as inferior beings, as something far more dangerous. Stood up, every eye turned to her. "The examination is over," she said quietly. "We passed because we stopped fighting each other. We passed because we combined our strengths instead of attacking our differences." She looked then at Pale, then at Tick. "That is the real lesson." She walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. "Humans notice everything, but we also know that noticing is not enough. Finding the threat is only the first step. Stopping it requires cooperation, unity, trust." she glanced at. Perhaps that is the real reason humans are good at this test. We know we cannot survive alone. She left the room. The other candidates watched her go. Spoke into the silence. Where is she going? Smiled, wincing as the movement pulled at his wounded shoulder. Probably to find something to eat. She has been sitting still for 4 hours. Humans get hungry. Despite everything, several species laughed. The tension broke. Candidates began talking to each other again, but differently now, as equals, as potential allies. In his observation room, Commander watched the monitors and felt hope for the first time in years. The galaxy was full of threats. Wars were always possible. Species fought and died over resources and pride. But maybe, just maybe, they could learn to work together. Maybe they could learn to see threats the way humans did, not through one set of eyes, but through all of them at once. He looked at his file one more time. She had requested no assignment, no special posting. She wanted to teach. Smiled and approved her request. The galaxy would learn, one student at a time.